Hello.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Who is that girl?
Hello.
Oh, I noticed
You see
something.
my you see my ear?
Whoa. Well. You look
Good morning.
good morning or afternoon. You look
Afternoon. Good
absolutely
afternoon.
beautiful. Wow.
Thank
Do you know
you.
what?
I had to
Can
do this
you
for you.
move back a bit? Or I don't know which way, whether it's you or the phone. So we can, yes, so we can, because we're just seeing your chin.
Is this better now?
Yes, slightly, and then turn your, okay, now go back a bit. Yeah, okay. But can you sing?
Is this better
Yeah,
now?
that's better. That's better. So we can
Okay.
at least see the hair. We can see your neck.
Okay.
Lovely, lovely hair. Wow.
Thank you.
Can we, well, celebrate her because she was 50 last week.
Oh my God.
Yes,
This is
not even
on
up to a week
50.
yet.
Not the week
Not up
yet.
to
A
a
week
week yet.
tomorrow.
Yay, she looks amazing. You don't look 50. Seriously, you don't.
Oh, thank
So
you. I'm following your footsteps.
how old do you want to be today? If you don't choose
Maybe
anything,
35.
35.
Is that pushing it?
You could pass. Don't worry. You could pass to 35, so it's okay. Anyone you choose today, it's fine. But you look amazing, sweetheart. You look
Thank
absolutely
you.
amazing.
Thank you.
Wow. If
You're
this is
looking
what
lovely as well.
50 looks like, nobody should worry about 50. Seriously.
No.
No.
It's a nice feeling. It's just I've been on a high. On a
Oh,
high.
wow. No, you look good. You look good.
Thank you,
Oh,
sis.
someone
Thank
said happy
you.
40th. Okay. I think we want to go lower than 40. She said 35.
All right, maybe 42 then. Give me
42.
42.
Okay. So, folks, I want to
Oh,
see more love, more hearts. Just
oh,
this. Well,
that's
okay,
good
it's
to
not
see
her
you.
first ingress. It's not her first Instagram live. But well, actually, it is that her first
It
that she's
is.
been interviewed Instagram live. Yeah.
Yes,
So show her
yes.
some love and
Thank
some
you,
hugs, and
thank
I'm hugging you
you.
from here.
Thank you, loving you right back.
Okay. Have you got your tea, coffee?
Yes, I've got my Hangout Cafe mug.
Oh, let's see.
However, I'm not drinking from it
Oh,
because it's quite small. So I've got my proper mug.
okay, you're one of those that love the big mug.
Yes, I love my big mugs. Yeah, so this is my decor. So I'll just
Okay,
leave
Deco.
that there.
Okay,
Yeah.
actually, can somebody take a picture of both of us showing our
Yeah.
mug so that I can, yes. Can somebody just take whoever and then send it to me? Thank you very much. Okay. Oh my goodness. So, Dele, thank you so much. Thank you for agreeing to do this. I know
Yeah.
it's something that we've been talking about for ages. And finally, you're here.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I know I've been running, but I think yes,
This is the
it's
right
time.
time. I guess
Yes,
there's always an appointed time. The time
yes.
when God says, okay, yeah. Even though we may not understand his timing, but I guess,
Perfect.
yeah. So how do you feel this afternoon?
Um, like I said to you earlier, I was a bit nervous yesterday when I think I was overthinking things. So I started to get really worked up and nervous. But then yeah, I just pray that you know what, let it just be about God. It's me sharing story of a part of my life,
Yeah,
but it's all about him. It's all about God. So
yeah.
I'll try not to be nervous.
And he will take control. He'll take control
Yes,
of
amen.
everything. So don't
Amen.
worry about it. And we've prayed.
Hope my lighting is okay.
So
Yes, yes.
he will take control. So
Amen.
welcome, Dele Ibironke, to Hangout Cafe.
Thank you, sis.
So Dele, just to start off with, just tell us about yourself. What do you do?
I'm a teacher. I teach secondary school maths. I've been teaching now for about 10 years.
Wow.
Initially, I trained as an accountant and I worked as an accountant for, gosh, just a little under 10 years. And then I got a call. It was a call to go into teaching. So it wasn't a chosen career. Teaching wasn't a chosen career.
What
God
was it
called
called?
me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know you enjoy what you do.
I love it. I love every moment of it. I mean, it's challenging.
Okay.
There's some days when I just feel like, God, please release me from this job because the kids are just can be so trying and teenagers. But the job satisfaction
Yeah.
is second to none, And I always say, even if it's just one child
Yeah.
that comes back at the end of an academic year
Yeah.
to say you made a difference,
Oh,
then my job is done for that year. Even if it's just one child. And every year I've had at least one that's come back and said thank you. So
fantastic. That's,
that makes it very satisfying.
I guess it actually makes a difference when you're teaching and it's a call. I guess in anything that we do, where it's a call, not just a job. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah. And I keep joking. I'm not sure about it. I keep joking. Maybe it's the Holy Spirit prompting me, but I keep saying that one day I must write a story about my teaching career,
Okay.
because from the minute I knew that God was calling me into teaching
Yeah.
to right now as I'm
Yeah.
talking, I can show God every step of the way.
Wow.
I can show his presence every step of the way. Every job I've had, every school I've been
Yeah.
into, everything, God has just orchestrated it. I cannot take credit at all for anything I've done in teaching. None.
Amazing. That's
Yeah.
really,
So, so that's why I keep on reminding myself that it's God that called me to
yeah.
it.
So I guess days where you want to just, I've had enough, that you remember.
I remember that. I remember all the things he's done. And then the next day or the week after, something would just happen. I'm like, oh God, thank you. I'm glad I didn't do anything hasty and just drop the whole thing. So
That's
he
good.
has been amazing.
That's
It has
really
been an
good.
amazing journey.
So I guess that
Yeah.
means you help your kids with their maths.
I try. They both don't like maths, funny enough. They both don't like maths. They're both very in the arty
Oh,
phase.
right.
So there's drama and fine arts and drawing and all that. So all I've just said to them is just please help me and just get a good, very good grade in maths. Just do me that favor.
Before they say their mom is a math
Their mom
teacher,
is
I didn't
teaching
know
maths.
that.
Yes. But I've got to accept that their gifts and their talents are different.
Yes,
They don't
definitely.
see things the way I see things. I can't draw to save my life. When I see some things my daughter draws, I'm like, wow. So
So how old are the girls?
16 and 14.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh my
16 and
goodness.
14.
They're
Grown
teenagers.
ladies. Yes. Easy teenagers to the glory of God.
No, that's another great testimony. Easy
Yeah.
teenagers.
Very easy
And
teenagers. Yeah.
they don't stress you.
They don't stress me at all. As in, I keep saying I've never had a phone call or an email from school about behavior, about anything. It's just I've never had to ground any child for
Yeah.
anything. It's been a real lesson mothering them.
Thank God. Well, I know it's definitely God, but then I'm sure you did something right in bringing them up. So
Maybe I did.
you,
I must have.
because in fact, it's funny. There's one hangout. There's a hangout session that I'm hoping we'll have, and it's going to be called "There Are No Bad Kids, but Bad Parenting." Because I think that children are born to be good, but then
Yeah,
something happens along the way. So
another way.
I'm looking for people that will come and let's talk about this thing. I don't think they're bad
Yeah,
kids. I think
no,
it's just
no.
bad parenting.
Parenting.
So
Yeah,
even
yeah.
though some people will say there's some kids, whatever you do, they'll still turn out. I don't know. But what
I don't. I think a lot of there's nurture, there's nature, and yeah, I think so. Because I guess also for me, being in the teaching profession
yeah.
and seeing so many different children in my classroom every day,
Yeah.
I can when I do parents consultation, sometimes I look at some parents as like, that explains that child's behavior.
Okay. Okay.
And I see some parents and my heart just melts. I'm actually in tears as I'm thanking them for the job they've done in parenting their child
Oh,
because it's making my life easy,
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Okay. So,
yeah.
Dele, today
Yes.
we're here to talk about you. We're here to talk about hope. We're here to talk about restoration. We're here to talk about redemption. We're here to talk about God's faithfulness. So many things. But let's go back. Let's start from the beginning. So you were born many, many, many years ago.
Yeah.
Those who missed the beginning, who don't know your age, well, too bad. She's 35.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your childhood, whatever you can remember.
Um, I was born in Lagos,
Okay.
St. Nicholas Hospital to be precise, and it's still standing. And I can't remember my early years. I vaguely remember. I vaguely remember where we lived when I was little
Okay.
in Lagos, vaguely. But then we left Lagos when I was about 5
Yeah.
and moved to Kano in the north.
Yeah.
And I lived in the north for rest of my life until I moved to the UK. So yeah, the first daughter, second child out of four. And yeah, life in Kano was good. I didn't know any difference. So grew up with just my nuclear family, my dad, my mom, and my siblings. But I had lots of cousins always come over, so and I always went to Ibadan. And I never knew where I actually came from until I think it was secondary school, going into secondary school or doing common entrance or something. No, I can't remember when. We had to fill some forms.
Okay.
And my parents filled the form and they wrote offer. And I was like, where's that? Because I thought we were from Ibadan, because we always went to Ibadan on holidays with my grandma. But yeah, so grew up in Kano and then secondary school in Kano and then came here for my A levels.
Okay.
And that was a very interesting time because my parents were extremely protective,
Right.
extremely so that and very strict. So we were never allowed. In fact, I can count how many parties I went to as a teenager when I lived at home. There was always one excuse after the other not to let us go.
Okay.
And then, so when my dad said you're going to UK for A levels, I thought, yeah, right. We can't even go to summer school in Kano. We want to take us to UK. And then became until I got to the school in boarding house, I didn't believe that was happening. And came to boarding house, and oh my God, I think that was a very wrong move on their part because it was suddenly having freedom so quickly without any guidance, and I completely lost my way. And I look at my life in those 2 years, I don't recognize the girl that I was then. I partied like it was going out of fashion. It was crazy. But then, so I was shipped back to Nigeria
Oh.
after my A-level.
Okay.
I was given the ultimatum, get yourself back to Nigeria ASAP. So I went back to Nigeria to start university, went to university in Zaria, Dele University in Zaria. But
I'm so shocked.
But like our paths were.
It's amazing because our parents knew each other. But I didn't know Dele. You went to Ahmadu Bello. I went to Ahmadu Bello, but I didn't know you there.
What? No, you must have left by then. You would definitely have left.
Please don't
you would
tell
have
them
left
that
by
that's
then.
old. I'm much older.
Okay, sorry. We're young, but I'm just a few years behind.
Where were you? Were you in Samaru or Congo?
I was in Samaru.
Okay.
Yes,
wow.
I was in Samaru. Yeah. So I started a degree there. I wanted to study accounting and finance, but I was given economics, as they do in Nigeria. They just give you where there's vacancy.
Yeah.
So I got economics, started there. I didn't really enjoy it. But then I went in, okay, excuse me, nobody should judge me. I went into ABU as a complete snob, I must confess. I was just feeling like, what on earth am I doing in this place? And I went in also determined that I wasn't going to join the social network there. I just wanted to just get my degree and get out of that place. So my life was hostel, what's it called, the lecture theater, back to my room. That was my life.
Oh, and you missed out because it was fun.
I know.
I had fun.
I know.
Yeah.
I just for some reason I just wasn't interested, and I guess
like somebody said it was after the UK A levels, and then they shipped it back.
Exactly. I was just like, okay, Dele, you've learned your lesson. Just focus on what you're here for. Who's that? It's my namesake. Yeah, Dele. I can't see the comments. I think my white background and white top is. I can't really read the comments. So yeah. So yes, I was in ABU, and then some friends are introducing me to church, and I was like, okay, it's church. I'll follow you to church. So it's a hostel, church, back to my room, lecture theater, and that was the triangle I did. But then there were always strikes happening. So I was in Zaria for 3 years, but I only completed one full academic year.
Okay, wow.
And by this time, I was getting really frustrated, and I just, went back to my dad and literally just had a conversation with him and explained why I want to go back to the UK. And he just said, yeah, sure, find the school and you can go. And it was simple like that. That was all. There was no argument. I didn't have to prove anything. I don't have to argue any case. So, and the only thing he said to me was, the only question he asked me was, are you sure you want to go and start all over again? You're almost, then by this time I was 23, 24.
Yeah.
All my friends were finishing university in the UK, and I was like, I'm going to go and start all over again. He said, are you sure? Have you thought about your age?
Yeah.
I was like, my age is the least of my worries. If I can get a degree, if I can get a degree, I'd rather go and get a degree. So he said, okay, fine. So I came back to the UK 1995, and I've been here ever since. Okay. Went straight to University of Brighton, got my accounting and finance degree. And
yeah, Abu person there. Okay, Moturaya, baby. Who's that?
Oh, Moturaya. Hi, Moturaya. That's my friend for ABU. Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, you finished your degree.
I finished my degree, started working. I was obviously still on a student visa, so trying to make, and then, along the way, just before my degree finished, I lost my dad. My dad was very ill, and he came over for surgery. They did all the surgery, was successful. He had a triple heart bypass surgery. It was successful, went back to Nigeria, and then about 6 months after that surgery, he just developed some complications and rushed back here. And they did everything, but sadly, 4th of December, the day before my birthday.
Wow.
The day before my birthday, I got a call from I'd called them in hospital. My mom was here with him. And he was unusually quiet and he wouldn't talk.
Right.
And my mom was just giving me one-word answers. Okay. So I was wondering what was going on. So I thought, okay, they're just not in the mood to talk. So I left. And then later in the afternoon, my mom called, or later in the evening, she called just like, Dele, get into London immediately. The doctors have said your dad hasn't got much time to go. They've only given him 2 weeks or something like that, she said. Oh, so I said, all right. I was staying at, I think I was in Brighton. Pastor Tunde Balogun was out of town, but his wife, Tony, was in town. She was in Brighton at the time, and she was with Pastor Badge and Chizo. Okay. So I was in the house with her when I got that call in Pastor Badge's house. So I said to her, I need to go to London. I need to go to London. She was like, no, you're not in the right state. Just wait. So we prayed, and then when Pastor Badge and Chizo arrived from work, we prayed some more, and I left. So I got into London. I told my mom, let's go to the hospital. She was like, well, my dad had told her to go home because she had been sleeping in the hospital, but he had told her to go home to rest and everything. So I was like, well, let's go. She was like, no, let's rest. We'll go in the morning. Okay. Then my younger sister, late sister, turned up from, she was in Huddersfield at the time, up north. Okay. So she traveled down as well. And then we all stayed up at night just praying, and then in the morning we're getting ready, and we got a call from the hospital that he passed, so we didn't get to see him.
Wow.
So that was very painful. So he passed, and then that was a very difficult moment, very difficult time, because it was like there was just so much hope at that time that he was going to get better, and he had instilled so much that the year before he passed, my sister and I, my late sister and I, we were taking a year out. Our degree was so that we could take a year out to work. Yeah. And so we both got placements. And you can think back then, that was like 1997. Yeah, 97. So you can imagine a student earning £1,000 a month on placements. That was a lot of money. Then, yeah. That was a lot of money. So I really felt like my rent was like £35 a week or something, so but my dad gave us our school fees that year. Yeah. And he wrote us each a check. And we gave it back to him. We said, Daddy, we don't need this money this year because we're not in school. Yeah. But my dad was like, that's my obligation to you. Okay. So do whatever you want to do with it. Ooh. So based on things my dad had instilled in us, I mean, first of all, the first few weeks, my sister and I went crazy, we were shopping. But after like 2 weeks of shopping, I got bored. I hate shopping. I don't enjoy shopping. So I just got bored. I was like, this is meaningless. So we invested the money. So I'd had a conversation with him the week before he passed. And I said to him, Daddy, this is what I did with my money. I'm going to bring my portfolio for you to have a look. Because it was an accountant. So I'm going to bring my portfolio for you to have a look, to let me, tell me if I've done something right, if there's something else I can change. And it's like, oh yeah, definitely, But he never got to see it, unfortunately, because he passed just before the weekend. So anyway, my dad passed, went back to uni, finished my degree and started working. And I got to a place where I was in different relationships. I'd gone through different relationships, and I'd just after my dad passed, I got into a relationship with a church boy.
The church boy.
The church boy, church in quotes. Took me to his church. Everything was good and all that, but the relationship ended really badly, really, really badly.
Okay.
And so I was in a really, really bad place at that point. And I came back. I think by this time I now moved to London. I moved from Brighton to London.
Right.
I got a job with Christian Aid.
Okay.
So and that was the only job that could permit me to stay in the country because it was a part-time job. It was 20 hours a week.
Right.
So it met the criteria of my visa.
Yeah.
So so I was doing that and I was enjoying it. And so I left that relationship. And there were other people that were interested. But I wasn't, because I'd just come out of that relationship, I wasn't in a place where I was looking for a relationship.
Okay. Especially not a church boy.
No, not a church boy. No.
The church boy is always, last week too, the girls talked about, particularly
no.
people in the choir. But anyway.
No, they speak the lingo, they do everything. I'm just thinking, nah. And for me, even though I'd given my life, I'd done my water baptism in Brighton and everything, I hadn't grown yet in my faith.
Okay.
So I think I did. Looking back, the church I used to go to then, it was a predominantly white church, Church of Christ the King. It was an amazing church. The first day I walked into that church, I just felt loved and everything, and at the time I was in a relationship with someone and I was actually living with him, which was all wrong. But when there was one Sunday I went to church and there was an altar call.
Okay.
And the church was like their building was like a cinema. It wasn't a cinema, but that's how they built it. That's how they arranged the way they built the chairs and the seats and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember very clearly, I was very close to the very top.
Okay.
And since as I'm talking to you till today, I do not recollect how I got from there to the front of the altar. I have no recollection. I just knew that the next thing I found myself on the floor and I was just in a flood of tears. Wow. And there was this lady holding me and she just said, I remember clearly, all she said was, just let it out, just let it out, just let it out. And I just wept and wept and wept. And after that, when I went back to this, to where I was staying, and everything just felt, when, I don't know how to describe it, when you're eating something and it just doesn't taste good in your mouth. And just like, no, I have to get out of this place. I can't live in this house with the man. I can't live here anymore. Yeah. And he couldn't understand. I was like, Dele, what happened? I said, I don't know what happened, but this is just not right. I can't stay here anymore. And so I got my own apartment. Okay. Well, more like I got a room in a house. And going from this grand house to this room in a house. Exactly, So when the one day he came to visit me, I was like, "Are you for real? You're actually waiting to stay in this place rather than where we have?" I said, "It's not we have, it's your house. This is where I stay now." So, yeah. So a lot of wrong decisions and things I'd done in the past. So when I came to London again, before I moved to London, I met Pastor Badge and Chizo. There's a friend of mine in Brighton. She actually took me to CCK, Church of Christ the King, because I'd been looking for a church. I was in a place where there was just an emptiness in me. There was just a void, and I couldn't explain it. Nothing just made me happy. Yeah. Nothing satisfied me. Everything, this guy that I was living with at the time, he treated me well. Wasn't, I didn't pay bills. I didn't do anything. I had whatever I wanted from him, but it just was empty. It just was meaningless. So when she introduced me to CCK, Church of Christ the King, I started to get meaning. Yeah. Then I went on the Alpha course, and that really helped, But then I think, in hindsight, jumping then and going to, it was good because I got a good relationship with Pastor Badge and Chizo, and they were going to church at the time, but I hadn't solidified my faith. Okay. And so I went straight into proper being a worker and all whatnot without really understanding the basics of my faith. So even though I was a Christian, I was still making a lot of my past mistakes, still getting into relationships that I shouldn't get into and all things like that. So anyway, there was someone else in church now in Jesus House that was interested, and I liked him. So there was nothing physical and all that, but liked him and all that. But we had a fallout, and by this time, my late husband Kunlo, he said he had seen me in church.
Right.
And that I was in front of the altar crying. I think I'm always crying in front of the altar. So I was, that I was in the front crying, and that he said to me that he had told God that whatever it is that's making this girl cry, God use him to help take her out of that.
That's so sweet.
So I was thinking, but he didn't know me. So he said yes, but that he just felt that he knew that I was his wife. I was thinking, okay. I can't remember the first time we ever spoke. I really cannot remember. But he kind of, somehow he found out where I worked.
Okay.
And so there was one day, I received a bouquet of flowers, beautiful flowers.
Wow.
So I thought it was this other guy that had fallen out.
I hope you didn't call him to thank him.
I sent a text to say thank you. I sent a text to say, oh, thank you so much for the beautiful flowers. And I didn't get a response. I was thinking, you sent flowers. I said, thank you. What's going on? And then reception called me and said, oh, someone's here to see you.
Okay.
So I went downstairs and it was Kunlo. I was a bit irritated. I was thinking, what's wrong with, so you found out where I work and then you just turn up unannounced, come and see me at work. What's going on? Anyway, we chatted for a little while, but it was almost time for me to leave work.
Okay.
I was thinking, now I'm going to go and, so obviously, I was like, this guy is obviously interested for him to come to see me at work. I'm not interested.
But did he tell
I've got
you
flowers up there.
sent the flowers?
He not told me, so I was like, so I went to go and get my flowers. So I said, well, if he sees the flowers, at least he'll get the message that there's somebody on the, So I went and got my flowers, and he said, oh, I'll walk into the bus stop. So I walked into the bus stop, and he was like, oh, those are such beautiful flowers. I said, yes, I know, I got them today. And he kept on going at, they're so beautiful flowers. I said, yes, I know, they're mine, they're beautiful, And then said, I sent them to you. I said, yeah, right. He said, no, actually I did. I said, you didn't. And then he told me word for word what was in the card.
Oh, wow.
Since I wanted the ground to open and swallow me. I was like, oh my God. I was now stammering, I couldn't talk. I was so embarrassed. I said, oh, thank you. Okay, what's going on here? And then this other bloke was now accusing me of seeing somebody else on the side. I was like, oh my God. I said, will I be seeing somebody else and I come and thank you? At least I'll calculate and try and know who's sending. Now, it won't be just so silly. But anyway, that fizzled out. And so he told me straight up that, see, I didn't just send you flowers for the sake of it. I want to marry you. I was like, oh, excuse me, I don't even know you. Kind of thing. But we started talking, we became friends, and we didn't date for that long. I think we only knew each other for like just under 2 years, which I think, in hindsight again, was a bit rushed. But I know that he was really keen. He was convinced that I was his wife. In fact, I tried so many ways to push him away, so many ways. The first time he sent, bless him, he sent me an email. We joked about it for years. He sent me an email, and I read it, and I was thinking, good Lord, how can somebody make so many mistakes in an email? So I changed the teacher in me, even though I was not a teacher then, I changed all the mistakes in a different color and emailed it back to him. And then thinking that he'll get so angry and say, what on earth, who do you think you are? And he wrote back, he said, confirmation you are my wife. That is exactly what I need. I said, oh my God. He said, that's what I've been praying for, that God will send me someone that will help me, because we found that he was dyslexic, but he didn't want to get tested for it.
Oh, wow.
But he knew it was, but he felt that if he was diagnosed, it would affect his career.
Okay.
And I tried to convince him otherwise, but he just wouldn't. But kudos to him. He did everything he could to get over it, And he also had a really, really bad stammer. You'd never know.
Yeah. He
had a terrible stammer, but again, he did so much to overcome that. He did speech therapy. He started doing Toastmasters.
Wow.
He would buy a book, and then he would also buy the audio.
Okay.
so that as he was reading, where words got jumbled,
Yeah.
the audio would help him to make sense of
Oh,
it and all that. He
wow.
really invested
Wow.
in himself to do that. And in fact, along the way, I used to joke that I had two jobs because while he was at work, he would do something, he would send an email, he would send it to me first. I had to read it, make any corrections, send it back. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of a meeting, I had to something like, Dele, Ayo, please, just do this very quickly for me. So we're constantly going back and forth like that. And then you got to one stage and you send something, I'll send it back. And like, oh, no mistakes. Like, are you serious? No mistakes? Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
So he really works on that. And then he pushed himself and went forward to do a master's in law.
Wow.
I was thinking, why? Who are you trying to prove to? But he was trying to prove to himself,
Yeah.
make a point to himself that he had overcome so many barriers, So yeah, so we started dating, and then so that was one of the things
So,
I tried to do to
excuse
keep
me,
him.
what happened to the person you were dating?
Oh, that one just fizzled away. I told him, if you cannot trust me, then we have nothing to talk about. So let's go our
Or was
separate
it
ways.
because you started being interested in color?
No, I wasn't. For a long time, I wasn't interested in Kulo. We're just friends. I wasn't. So, but that particular guy, I just thought I couldn't be with someone that didn't trust me.
Okay. Okay.
I couldn't be with someone that didn't trust me because I knew that I wasn't doing anything on the side. So if you couldn't trust me, take my word for it, then there was no point having a conversation anymore. And then there was another day, Kulo came and he said, "Oh, let's go to cinema." And I've been pushing. I was like, cinema. It's okay. Finally, I agreed. So again, we got to the cinema. I was thinking, this guy might not start getting very cozy and trying to sit close to me and whatnot. So he said, when we got there, I said, what do you want to watch? So I was looking at all the movies on. I said, I need to choose something that there'll be no
romance,
unnecessary
nothing.
romance again, no coming. So I went and what was showing then, I cannot stand Austin Powers. That is what I chose.
So you chose Austin Powers.
That's what I chose. The most annoying movie ever.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
So he sat there grinning but hating every moment of it. But like, what on earth is this girl doing? But we're already there, so he had to watch the movie with me. There was nothing to laugh about. There was nothing to hold hands about. There was nothing to get close and talk about. It was just a stupid movie. Watch it and let's get out of this place. Meanwhile, on the way to the movie, I was calling friends. I was trying to find any of my friends that was free that could join us.
Okay.
Nobody was free. And then we finished the movie, and then he said, "Oh, do you want to go out for dinner?" Sis, you would have thought he asked me for sex, the way they look on my face. I was like, "Excuse me, what on earth? You asked me to come to the cinema. I've come to the cinema. Now you're pushing me. Please just take me to my house." So we went to, but then he was still insisting, wanted to drag out the night. So I called some friends. I found out where they were. So we went and joined them there. And so anything I tried didn't work. So after I thought, okay, let me pray about this guy. Maybe he's the one. And then, yes, we prayed, fasted, and I got a revelation that it was him.
Yeah.
And so
we
got married.
You really gave him a hard time.
Oh yes, because I wasn't interested. I was like another church person. No, I'm not going down that path. I don't, And then he had been married, and even though they had been separated for over 2 years, almost 2 years, over 2 years, they hadn't gone through with the divorce. They just been left it dragging. So there were just so many things. I just thought, nah, I'm not interested.
Okay. So to fast forward, so he got divorced. Yes. Eventually, you guys got married.
Yes. He got divorced. We got married. It was a beautiful ceremony. I remember that you made some tops for us. Remember pink tops that we changed into.
Wow! Yes.
Funny enough, I only just got rid of that top like 2 or 3 years ago. Wow. Yeah, it was a beautiful wedding, and we had 2 children almost immediately. Initially, I'd wanted more, but I had rough pregnancies. I did not enjoy one day of pregnancy for both pregnancies. So after the second pregnancy, I just thought, as much as I wanted more, that was it. Okay. And he was content because he only wanted 2 kids anyway. So.
And he didn't have any children from the previous marriage? No,
they did, but sadly she passed while she was still a baby. Oh. Yeah. So I think I can't remember the details because he told me, but I can't remember the details because I remember when we were still talking before he even asked me out. He kept on asking about my genotype. Okay. And I was thinking, what is your problem with my genotype? I'm AA, what's the big deal? And it turned out that he was AS, and I think his ex-wife was AS as well. So I think if I remember well, I think the baby might have been SS and had a lot of complications. So I can't remember, but so that's, why he kept asking about my genotype, So he said he wasn't going to go down
that route.
Any path, that route again. It was too painful. So yeah.
Okay, so tell us what happened.
So yeah, so we got married. Like every marriage, we had our ups and downs, and Kula was a very restless person. He couldn't sit still, always up and about. And then he got restless. He used to talk about Nigeria a lot. He wanted to move to Nigeria, and I didn't see the big deal about Nigeria. And then along the way, the recession happened, and he lost his job. And that was a very, very trying time in our marriage. He lost his job. He was out of work for, over a year, well over a year. And unfortunately, at that time, that's when I'd heard the call to go into teaching. And I made a very hasty move and resigned from my job. So we're both at home, jobless, and two extra mouths to feed.
Yeah, the children. Yeah.
So that really pushed, tried our marriage. And then he got a job, and I think that was when he started living abroad. I think that, he got a job, and the job was in Saudi Arabia. And God, did we fight? Because I didn't want to live separate lives. I didn't want us to live on separate, different houses and all that. But I had to get to a place where I accepted, because it was really affecting it affected his mental state, affected him as a man, not being able to provide, So he went to Saudi, and that was it. He caught that bug of working abroad. And we never visited him in Saudi. I didn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. I just didn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. Then he got to a state where he stopped enjoying Saudi Arabia because he didn't get the job he wanted. He accepted that job because it was a job and it was income and it was abroad. So when it was in a very remote place in Saudi Arabia, he didn't like it at all. For someone that was so social, he was too remote. And then he left Saudi Arabia, and I think he left Saudi Arabia and came back to the UK, got a job in the UK for a few months, but then he didn't, he was still living away from home because he was now used to working, and home was very close to work when he was in Saudi. So when he came to the UK, the commute and everything, he moaned, and then so we agreed. He stayed in the town where his job was during the week and came home at the weekends. Oh, that time, in fact, that period of our lives was like, it was almost a breaking point. I was almost convinced we were going to go our separate ways. And then
was that because you were not used to him being at home?
I wanted him at home.
Oh, you wanted him
didn't.
At home.
Yeah. He was not used to being at home anymore.
Yeah,
and for me, I was trying to get him to see that was a problem. You have to, you should be at home, and the girls were getting older and they were not used to seeing him. And for them, he was their dad. They knew he was their dad, but how do I explain it? It wasn't always, they saw me as the parent.
And he's someone who just came home at weekend.
Someone just came, yeah. Yes, exactly. So there'll be times when he'd ask them to do something and they'll look at me first for approval to do it. And you'll get angry. I was like, you can't get angry. They don't, I've been telling them something from when they're least, like, don't go away with strangers, don't talk to strangers, ask before, if a stranger tells you to do something, make sure you check with me first. So even though I never said to them you're a stranger, but in their child's mind, because you're not always there, they saw him as a stranger. So you could say something and they'll ask me first for approval. I'm like, of course, it's your dad, you have to go and do it, and kind of things like that. So those are kind of reasons why I really wanted him at home. Yeah. And I needed my husband at home. I didn't understand this marriage that, you're married and you didn't, so I did, for me, that was, and maybe also growing up, seeing my dad at home every day. That was, for me, that was what marriage was supposed to be like. You were together every day. And then the job he was on, they were doing redundant, making people redundant as well. And one week, everybody in his team were just told, pack your things and go. So again, he went back to no jobs. And then he moved to Nigeria for a little while. So he started building in Nigeria and he loved it. And he just loved it. While he was in Nigeria, then he got a job in Qatar.
Okay.
Then he moved back to the Middle East again and moved to Qatar.
Right.
And so at this point, when he moved to Qatar, I just thought, you know what, Dele, this is going to be your life. So you might as well accept it or move out there.
Yeah.
So I actually started looking for work out there.
Okay.
That, okay, I'll move the kids. They're still young enough.
Right.
As long as they're together, let me move. So I started looking for work out there. But of course, I didn't know Qatar. I've never been there.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how I didn't want to choose a school. And at the end of that, I'm driving from one end of town to another end.
Right.
Because I didn't know the layout of the place. I thought, okay, we'll go and visit once, get a feel of the place, and then I'll start really intensifying my search to move the girls and I out there. And he was happy with that, you know, he was happy with that decision and all that. So, and then we went to Qatar, gosh, what year was that? 2004. Yeah, August 2004. We went for summer holidays with him. That was our first summer.
Or 2014.
Oh, 2014, sorry. No, 2017. 2017.
Oh, okay.
2004 was when we got married. 2017, yeah. 2017 summer, we went there for the summer. We spent time with him. Really enjoyed it. The girls liked it. I thought, okay, very hot, very just like Dubai and all those places. But yeah, okay, we could possibly do this move. And that holiday, because every time it comes, you know, the friction would fight, would, you know, make up again and all that. But that holiday, as we were going, I said to God, I want to enjoy this holiday. You know, I don't want any fight. I want us to just be a proper family unit. And that's what we got, because we got there. His apartment was just a one-bed apartment. And he, I think, had determined that he wanted us to have a nice time as well. So he got a two-bed hotel room, not room, but one of those hotel suites, you know. So we had the living room, the kitchen, everything. So it was like being in our own apartment, because they wanted us to be comfortable. So, and usually I would have, which is why I know God orchestrated that trip, because when we got there, he was still working. He didn't take time off work, but I didn't complain. That was God. That was definitely God, because I would have been like, what did we come here for? We're still going to work. But we made that trip work for us. So he'd go to work in the morning and then finish early afternoon, early evening, or late afternoon, early evening, then come and get us. And then we'll go out and spend the night or the late evening until the night together as a family. So what we did, the girls and I, we kind of adjusted our sleep pattern. So we'd sleep in the daytime while he was at work. And then we'll be awake all night. So just made it work so that nobody was getting worked up or upset. And then we finished that holiday, and it was a beautiful holiday. You know, it was a really nice time. And we came back to the UK. And then fast forward to, it was meant to come in October that same year. So we went in August. He was meant to come in October. I can't remember what happened. He cancelled. And then he said he wanted to go to, he said he wanted to go to Nigeria, that he was very close to finishing the houses we were building in Nigeria. I wanted to finish it before December. And there was just an urgency to finish the building. So I thought, okay, no problem. At least you'll come in December. Promise me you'll come in December. I said, yes, he'll come in December. So he went to Nigeria to finish building in November, went back to Qatar. And then, so I kept saying, give me your date so, you know, I can be prepared. I don't like cooking. So my mind was, let me know what date you're coming. I can get my caterer ready, organized, order. And bless him, he wasn't fussy about food. It was not one of those food like you must have cooked it yourself or it must be fresh. As long as there was food, he was satisfied. So that worked for me. So because I said, you know, just let me know when you're coming so I can order all the food and have it ready. I don't have to stress. But he didn't, you know, he was just not coming with the dates. So I was getting ready for a disappointment that he wasn't coming for Christmas. But again, I was saying, Lord, I don't want to fight. I just want to enjoy Christmas. And then, so he went back to Qatar. November, he went back to Qatar from Nigeria. And then on my December 5th was my birthday. And I didn't go to work on that day, I wasn't feeling very well. I had a really bad sore throat. And as a teacher, I didn't feel like talking. So I'll stay at home and rest my voice. So I was in bed and he sent a text because there was a 3 hour
Yeah.
difference. I think we were 3 hours ahead of them. Yeah. So he sent a text their time and said, happy birthday. I've put something in your account. Surprise, surprise. You never put some money in my account before, so, so I put money in your account and I'll call you later in the day. I've got a very busy day. I can remember the text so well. I've got a very busy day at work with meetings. We'll call after his meetings. I said, okay. So I laid there in bed, slept, woke up, different people called, and then about 5 or so in the evening, I was now getting irritated. I was thinking,
He hasn't called.
brother, you haven't called. It's my birthday, and I was now also feeling sorry for myself that I've been poorly in bed all day, and all that. So, and the bit was like, why should I be the one to call? It's my birthday. He should call me, So, and then Maureen, my friend, came. She brought me cake for my birthday, and then she left. And just as soon as she left, I got a phone call, and this was a foreign voice. It was the Qatari number.
Okay.
So I thought he was cool because he had a thing where he'd call me,
Yeah.
and if he was with
Yeah.
friends, he'll just pick me on speaker and get me and tell his friends to talk to me, and I hated it. I just didn't feel comfortable. I was like, I don't know these people. Why don't make me talk to people I don't know? And like that. I just say hello to them. I was like, I don't. So when I saw that number, I thought, he's doing it again. He has given somebody my number and told them to call. So I answered it in a very nonchalant way, like, hello. It's like, oh, this is so and so from Qatar. It's like, okay. It's like, um, we're calling from the hospital. I said, okay, what's going on? He said, oh, your husband has had a heart attack.
Wow.
I said,
Wow.
he's had a heart attack. I said, okay, can I speak to him? And the lady just goes, he's no more.
Wow.
I said, what do you mean? So I just cut the line. I thought this is such a stupid prank. I'm not even ready for this nonsense. I just cut the line off. And I think they called back, or did I think I'm not sure if that they called back or I called number.
Yeah.
I was like, what was that message? I don't get it. I'm like, we're so sorry. This is what has happened. And to be honest, I don't even know what I was thinking. I don't know. I remember calling Maya, my daughter, and saying to her, call Auntie Maureen. And she came and I was just on the floor. I don't know who else I called. I was confused. I really don't know. I couldn't understand. I couldn't make sense of it. I was like, it doesn't, what
Doesn't make
happened,
sense.
how.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't. Even now everything is a blur. I really cannot remember. All I know is I was just like cuddled on the floor like a baby. I was just, I, I felt suddenly vulnerable and lost. I just felt like the covering had been taken off.
Yeah, I was going to say, so what were the thoughts that were going on in your mind, if you remember? Can you remember?
I can't remember exactly. All I just know is at that point, I just felt fear.
Fear.
Fear, definitely. I felt fear. I felt, I felt, I just felt vulnerable in a way. I couldn't explain it. I just felt as if something like a covering, like I said, I felt as if a
Okay.
covering had been taken off. And I couldn't explain it because it wasn't as if it was always there,
Mm.
so for me to feel, but something just felt, it seemed unreal. I didn't believe them, and so I just kept saying they said Kuno is dead. But it didn't make sense. It didn't. I just said they said Kuno is dead. They said Kuno is dead, and even as I said it, it didn't make sense. And then next thing I knew, there were just people all over in my house, and I was wondering. I was numb. That's the word. I was numb.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was numb, and I just knew. At that point I wanted to be on the plane to Qatar.
Just
I
to
just
go and
wanted to be on the
confirm
plane to
that.
Qatar to go and confirm what they're
Yeah.
saying. Yes, because it didn't make any sense to me. This somebody I just, and then guilt started flooding in.
Why?
I was
Why
thinking,
guilt?
Dele, you could have called him. Why were you waiting for him to call you?
Okay.
You know, you could have spoken to him. You could have, all the, and guilt that my response to even his message hadn't been
Loving or something.
loving, just like, yeah, whatever, thank you,
Yeah.
because my mind was still, you've not given me a date for December yet, you're not coming in December. I'm already, building up to that disappointment that you're not coming for
Yeah.
Christmas. So when everybody was in the house and they were talking and everything was going on, I could just see people, I could just hear voices. I cannot tell you a word that was said.
Mm.
And I know at one point I just said I need to go to Qatar. And I know somebody was saying something about, oh no, you can't go. In my mind, I thought, try and stop me. It's like, I'm going to Qatar. And God is just amazing because I just said it and it happened. Jesus' house was amazing, my church family. I just said, I need to go to Qatar. And since all I know was the next thing, my flight was sorted, hotel was sorted, and I was on a plane to Qatar. 2 days, I think we flew out 2 days later on the 7th or the 8th, I think. And Pastor Badge was in Nigeria. All the pastors, I think, were in Nigeria for the conference. And so the message that the news had reached him, and he was already on a flight to Qatar on his birthday. Yeah. So he got to Qatar before me. So Tolani, my cousin, and I flew out to Qatar together, and Pastor Bad was at the airport waiting for us. The HR lady and some other people from the office where he worked, they were all there, at the airport. And it still wasn't real. I still don't know what on the plane, I was
On the
I
plane,
can't remember.
were you thinking you would get there and they will say it was a mistake or something?
I was I think Tolani, if she remembers, maybe she can tell me more about that flight. I know I was very, very nervous on that flight. I was extremely nervous. I had all kinds of documents that it sent.
Okay.
The HR lady had sent all kinds of documents that I'll need to read and sign for the different departments out there, Department of Health, the hospital,
Right.
the mortuary, everything. There were just documents and documents. I had a whole folder of documents. So we're sitting on the plane and I was trying to read all those documents to make sense of what's going on.
Right.
And I was physically shaking and I was just so scared. And afterward, I said to Lani, I can't read these things. So she was like, Dele, just put them to one side. I remember that bit. And I think I can't remember if I slept on the flight. I really can't remember. I know we got to Qatar and then we got to our hotel and it's still, I was just asking lots of questions, tell me what happened, and they said he had come to work as normal.
Yeah.
They had finished work
Right.
and his colleague had taken him home to get changed.
Right.
And then they went together to go play football.
Okay.
And on the way to play football, apparently, I think he had mentioned something about he wasn't feeling completely himself. And they said, okay, okay. They got to the football and he was like, he wasn't really feeling himself. And they said, okay, rather than play whatever part he plays, he should be the keeper. So at least he won't have to be running about.
Right.
So he was the keeper. And less than an hour into the match, he said he was feeling dizzy or still feeling out of sorts. It's okay, just lie down and take some time out and then we come back for the second half or something.
Right.
And he laid down and that was it.
Wow. Wow.
Mm. So that bit is still quite big because when they said he lay down, that was it. I was thinking, okay, was somebody beside him?
Mm.
They said he lay down, but where they were playing the football match was literally across the general hospital, the only hospital in
Okay.
Qatar.
Okay.
So it was immediate. The ambulance were there immediately and they did everything, but he didn't make it to the hospital right there on the ground on the football pitch. That's where he passed away. So yeah, and so we got to the hotel, and when it was time to go to bed, I noticed that I had a room to myself, and Tolani had her own room, and I just burst into tears. And I just started crying, and they were like, Pastor Bade, Tolani was home, and I said, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to sleep alone. So they were like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to cry. We'll sort that out. So they spoke to the receptionist, and they canceled Tolani's room, so she moved into my room. So we were together. I was just scared. I was just really scared to be alone. And before we went to bed, Pastor Baj and Tolani were there in my room. They were talking all kinds of things. I don't know what they're talking about. I just said to them, can they please put worship music on?
Okay.
And so while they were talking and discussing, I don't know what they were discussing. Okay, we decided that we'll do a mini service of songs in Qatar
Okay.
for his Qatari community.
Right. Okay.
And so they were planning that, and I could just hear their voices, but the worship music was my saving grace. I was just, how can I describe it? It was like floating on clouds.
Wow.
I was just lost in worship. I was just lost in worship. And Pastor Baj had this amazing playlist, and I just lay down there. I was listening to it. I was singing in my mind first, and then I started hearing my voice. And next thing I knew, I was on. I think I was probably on the floor, just lying on the bed, and I was just crying and worshiping. I was just crying and worshiping. And I think once or twice they stopped and joined me and then went back to their planning and all that. And that was my saving grace, worship music. And I just got lost in God. And the next day in the morning, Pastor Baj said we had to go for breakfast. I didn't have an appetite. I didn't want to eat. But he said he insisted. So we got there, we sat at the dining table. And everything, the wind blew, I cried. The bird sang, I cried. Everything, I just cried, you know. And I couldn't just, and I just couldn't make sense of, I still couldn't make sense of what was going on. I didn't know what I was doing in Qatar. And then the people from the hotel, from the office arrived to come take us to the hospital to go see his body. And as we're walking out of the lobby, he just hit me, our wedding vows. And I just said, till death do us part. So I looked at Pastor Baj. I said, wow, that is what I said. But I didn't think about it at the time, because you just say it. So you just, you're in a different cloud when you're getting married. Yeah. Those last words don't mean anything. You just say it because it's what it. And I just burst into tears again, and it just held me. I was like, Dele, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. And that Qatari trip was what saved me a bit as well, what helped me, because I settled a lot of things with God on that trip.
Okay.
You know, I settled with God that because of the songs I was listening to, the words of the song, and just being lost in worship and praying all the time, and having people around me that were praying as well. You know, Pastor Baj and Tolani were constantly praying. I just had a deep sense that God was there. It didn't make sense, but God was holding me.
In the midst of everything, He was there.
Yes, you know, the sorrow was deep. The sorrow was deep, but I knew God was there. And it didn't make sense, but it was on the one hand, my heart was in pieces, but on the other hand, it was whole. It just didn't make sense. You know, God is just, I missed the part. Before all of this happened, let me just take a few steps back. 2016, 2016, I was talking to my sister. She was working in the Cayman Islands. Actually, let me take 2015. She was working in the Cayman Islands. And we're talking one day, and she said, sis, I'm not feeling all right. I'm just feeling out of sorts. I was like, what's wrong? She's like, she's going to go and have herself checked. And she checked, and they did all kinds of tests. They couldn't find anything. And then there was a day she went out for dinner with some friends. And they noticed that her responses were a bit slow, and that she wasn't responding to things on time. And my sister was very, how do you call it? She had a very sharp mind, and she was very witty, and she had very quick comebacks to things. So our friends at that dinner table noticed that something was not quite right. So they called the hospital immediately, and they took her in, and she had suffered what they call TIA, some mini strokes while at the dinner table. So they got her straight into hospital, and they got that treated immediately. And so when we chatted, we talked about it, and it's like we should start watching her health and start doing all sorts of things. And then she came to the UK in September that year, 2016. No, 2015. She came to the UK, and for work, her work, you know, had an office in the UK. So she came here for like 3 weeks, and she was with me, and she said, you know what, for the first time, because she had gone through a series of tests and things that she was now recovering. So that time in September, she said to me that for the first time, she's really feeling well in herself, and that she was going to really start working on her weight. And by that time, I had started my weight loss life change program. So she could see the change in my body and everything. So I was giving her tips, and we're sharing. And so every week we'll do a call and, you know, do feedback and see progress check and all that. And then there was sometime in October or November, she called me and she was like, "Oh, I keep losing my words. My words keep going and flowing, ebbing out and coming back." I said, "What do you mean?" She's like, "She can go for like a few hours and she just would not be able to talk. And she just lose all her words. And then after a few hours, they'll come back again." So I got worried about that. I said, "So I'll go and get this thing checked. That doesn't sound right." Anyway, December 2016, I get a phone call. She's had a massive stroke, and she was being rushed to the hospital. Before then, I'd been speaking to her doctor, and I was saying to the doctor, "Please, can you go and get her?
Yeah.
I don't think she's all right. Can you insist she's admitted?" And the guy was like, "We can't force her to be admitted. And anyway, we don't know where she lives." I said, "What do you mean you don't know where she lives? She's your patient." And but then she had moved from the Cayman Islands. She was living in the British Virgin
Okay.
Islands. And then he described how their houses were. They didn't really have street numbers or street names and stuff like that. You had to know where somebody lived. When I went there is when I understood.
Right.
They're all very hilly, so you have to know which hill, which color house, behind which store or something like that. That's how they describe their houses like that. So I flew without even thinking about the consequences of what it was going to cost me. I just flew out to the British Virgin Islands to go and see her. And that was a journey on its own. Got there and my sister was laying in bed, completely paralyzed and couldn't talk. And so when I saw her, she perked up and she looked at me and she said, "Something happened to me." I said, "Yes, something happened to you." And then she smiled and started crying. And the nurses were all very optimistic. They said that's the first thing she'd said since she'd been in hospital. So hopefully you being here will cause the recovery to start. But that was the last time she spoke. After that, something happened to me. She didn't say anything again. So I stayed in hospital with her every day for 2 weeks. I'd go and sit beside her and would just read the Bible and play worship music. And something amazing happened. Anytime I played
Yeah.
music, especially songs that she remembered from when we were growing up,
Yeah.
she'd sing the songs, she'd say the words.
Okay.
But when the music was not there, she couldn't speak.
Wow.
Couldn't. But when the music was playing, she'd sing along to the songs. So I started playing hymns that we knew growing
Yeah.
up just to help her. I started teaching her the alphabet all over again, started teaching her people's names, showing her pictures, showing her everything. And then she got discharged and she fought me. She didn't want to come to the UK because for her, that would be losing more of her independence. But I insisted, and eventually she came to the UK with me, and we arrived in January 2016. So all of 2016, I was a carer because she was living with me. You can imagine she didn't have a speech. She'd lost her speech. She was paralyzed on her right side. So she had to start learning to write with her left hand and learning speech all over again. So I was doing that. I was a single mother, so to speak, because Kuno was not around. He was working abroad and going to work and all of that. So when Kunlo died, I got back from Qatar. So anyway, we went to Seoul. So I just had to put that bit in because it all fits
Yeah.
into what was going on in my life at the time. So we went to see the body. We went to see the body, and he was just sleeping. He looked at he was just sleeping, and I said to him, I have to touch him to know that he was gone. I was in the cold room. Of course, he was
Yeah.
gone. I was in the cold room, but and I just crumbled. I felt myself going to the floor. I think Pastor Bad just caught me in time. And that was, yeah, that was tough. That was tough seeing him just lying there. I just thought
Awesome.
scripture just came to life. A lot of scripture came to life. Like, we came here with nothing, we're leaving with
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
You know, we're just, this is just a shell that we're in, and we left there. And well, I cried and I cried and I cried. Everything they were saying, I couldn't hear. I could hear voices, but I couldn't make out. I could not remember anything they said. So they took me back to the hotel and I slept, I think. And that's the beauty. God just gave me sleep. God gave me peace. In all of it all, I had the peace of God.
Thank God.
I was never agitated. I sometimes I felt fear
Yeah.
and I felt vulnerable. I felt how am I going to cope? You know, how am I going to, even though I've been the primary
Yeah.
parents,
But I guess it
that
was still your husband. You had him.
he was,
Even if,
yes, I had
yeah.
him. And decisions, even though whatever decisions we made, he might say, Dele, he never called me Dele, he called me Ayo. Ayo, you decide. Even though I knew the ultimate decision was still going to be mine, just the fact that I had someone else to bounce it off,
Yes, yeah.
that wasn't there anymore suddenly, and I just felt very naked and vulnerable. Like, how am I going to do this? And also, he was the primary breadwinner,
Yeah.
and so I was a teacher. Teacher salary was, like just making ends meet and just buying. So all of those things were crossing was just flying through my mind. Like, how am I going to do this? How
Yeah.
am I going to cope? And we had a service of songs in Qatar. Kunlo was a people person, and when he was alive, I didn't appreciate that. And so that was some of the guilt that I felt. It was like, because me, I'm a homebody. Just keep me in my house by myself. I'm happy, But he had to be out and about with people. And just the 2 years he spent in
Yeah.
Qatar, the connections he made, the people he brought together, it was amazing. It was just like, even that little service of songs we
Yeah.
had, people that came, there's so many people that came in that little apartment that we had the meeting in, and people were saying so many nice things, they were so kind, and his office people were just in tears. Everybody was talking about how such a presence he had once he walked into the office. Everybody knew Kuno had arrived once he walked into the office. So then we finished and we had to fly back and had to come back with the body. And we got back to the UK. And
What
then
about
it
the,
started
sorry,
becoming.
let me just interrupt for a bit. What about the
Mm.
girls?
They were, I told them that evening when everything, after it had dawned on me before on the day, so I finally called them and explained. I'm sure they must have picked up. I've never even really asked them. I'm sure they must have picked up what was going on because, well, this people in our house. So finally told them, we just hugged and cried together. And it's good to have your tribe. It's good to have sisters that friends that have become sisters. Because thinking about it now, those days between the time from the 5th to the 7th or the 8th when we
Yeah.
traveled, and even coming back, I think we came back around the 13th or something. All that period, I don't know who was taking care of my children. I have no idea. I think they moved in with Maureen.
Okay.
I think, yes, they moved in with Maureen, but I have no clue. I have no idea. My friends just took over and just, there was food in the house. I don't know where food came from. I don't know who cleaned. My house was cleaned. Everything was, my friends just took over. I cannot say. So when some friends are saying to me, "Oh, Dele, sorry, I didn't do enough," I said, "You didn't do enough." I said, "You don't understand what you did. You took a whole weight and burden
Yeah.
off me that I didn't have to think about. So my sister was cared for because I don't know what happened during that period. I don't know who did what. Yeah. So yeah, we came back and then started planning the funeral. And my sister, bless her, she would come and she would hug me. She didn't have words to say much. She would just hug me, and she carried on with her therapy. And we had a lot of ups and downs with her therapy. And there was a day the police called me and I almost had an accident. Luckily, I was parked and they said, "We've got your sister." And what I heard was, "We've got your sister's body,"
Oh,
because of the way they
said
said
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, And I screamed. They were like, "No, no, no, calm down, calm down. She's fine. We're in your house. How soon can you get here?"
Okay.
So when I got there, my sister was just sitting there very nonchalant, eating her food. So I was like, "What was going on?" And they told me she had walked onto the train tracks,
Wow.
and the train driver luckily had seen her
Wow.
just in time to stop the train.
Wow. Wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
And I looked at her and I was like, "Joe, why?" She said, and she said she didn't do it on purpose, that she lost sense of direction.
Okay.
And so the police took me out and they had a chat with me and they said, based on what she'd gone
Yeah.
through, that they can't section her
Okay.
because she is an adult and she's insisting she didn't walk on the tracks to hurt herself.
Okay.
But I need to keep an eye on her.
Mm.
And this was on a Thursday. So I took the day off work the next day, and basically I was on a suicide watch.
Wow.
because of what she had done. And that's what they said I had to do. And they gave me numbers to call if I felt, so yeah, so that was so that was going on top of everything, that happened in May. So that was way before.
Okay, I
So
was just going to say
up
that
to, so,
that happened
no,
before.
no, that was in May. But all that time, from May till that time, I was practically on a suicide watch. I had to be conscious of everything she was doing. So anyway, started planning. And then I remember there was on a Friday, it was a Friday, I Tunde Adebi came to get me, and we went to drop the clothes that they would dress Funlo's body in for the funeral. And I called Tunde because they were best friends, and he had been Funlo's best man at our wedding, and they had similar dress sense. I was like, Tunde, I don't know what to pick. Come and help me. So we picked out the suits, the shoes, everything, and so we drove. Tunde drove me there. And I'm sure Tunde will probably say that was the first time he ever heard me talk that much because I was nervous, and he was so gracious. I'd never spent that much time ever before with just him,
Yeah.
and I literally talked the whole way. What I was talking about, I don't know, but it was nerves. I just talked and talked and talked, and he didn't interrupt me. He just let me be. He just let me talk. And we got to the place, we got to the funeral parlor, and his body wasn't there. They had moved it to another place.
Okay.
And I just like crying because I'd wanted to see, just spend a few minutes, even though I knew it wasn't him, but it was just like, for me, probably final closure
Yeah.
kind of thing. So the drive back was complete opposite.
You
I was
kept
dead
quiet
silent.
yourself.
And again, he didn't try to break the silence. He just let me be. He was so gracious. He just let me be. So when I got home, my sister hugged me. And no, she asked me where I'd been. So I told her. And for the first time, I cried in her presence because I shielded that from her because I didn't feel she needed to be burdened with that because she was dealing with her own
Yeah.
thing with her. So, but the first time, the day she hugged me and whatever, we cried together in the living room, and I told her where I'd been. And I remember clearly, she said to me, "Oh," so I said to her, "I hope you're ready. You're going to come to the funeral with me on Monday." She was like, "No, I'm not coming." I said, "Of course you're coming." She said, "No." She said, "Your friends will be there to support you."
Mm. Mm.
I just laughed. I said, "You must have having it." I said, "You know what? I'm not going to stress with you right now. You're going to come for the funeral." So we left her, then was just doing all sorts of runarounds. And then Saturday, the next day, I was out on errands, just last minute things ready for Monday. The funeral was going to be on Monday, I think. And I was out all day and then came back because people were coming to the house to visit. So I didn't see my sister all day, but I didn't think anything of it because she had become a different person because of the
Yeah.
stroke. She wasn't comfortable in front of people anymore, which was very unlike her. So whenever she heard
Yeah.
movement, she would stay in her room. She wouldn't come out.
Okay.
But then she would come out and just quickly go into the kitchen, grab food, and then go back into her room. So because I didn't see her all day, I didn't ring any alarm bells because that was what she would normally do.
Okay.
And when the last person left, a friend of mine came to visit, and she left. She was like, "So you mean I'm not going to see our job before I leave?" I was like, "Don't worry, I'm sure she's probably sleeping." Because I also noticed that the stroke made her she got very tired very quickly, and she slept a lot. And then some of the antidepressant
Yeah.
drugs that she had been put on also made her very drowsy. So I said, "Oh, don't worry, I'll tell her you came, and you'll see her on Monday by God's grace when you come for the funeral." And so when my friend left, I just thought, okay, let me just check on her and just see her. I've not seen you all day. And I walked into her room, and it was unusually cold
Mm.
because because of the stroke. Her body had become very sensitive to heat and
Yeah.
cold, so she couldn't stand the cold in particular. So she was always warmly wrapped up and everything. So I couldn't understand why her room was so cold because normally she would have put the heating on. And I also had a mobile heater in her
Yeah.
room just in case she didn't feel warm enough. So I was wondering, why didn't Joe put on this heater? Again, didn't think anything about it. But as I moved towards her bed, I don't know why I was apprehensive because I had no reason to be, but I moved close to her bed and I looked at her and she was just sleeping. So I was going to go out, but something told me to touch her and just make sure she was okay. But I was thinking, I don't want to wake her up in case she now couldn't go back to sleep. I didn't know if she had just slept or she had... Then I looked down and I saw her foot. One foot was not covered with the duvet and there was no sock on it.
Right.
I thought, Joe would have felt this cold and, So I touched her foot to pull the duvet over and I screamed.
It was
It
cold.
was ice cold. It was ice cold and solid. And I just screamed. And then I pushed her and oh my God, that's when I realized she had passed away. Mm. I didn't know what to do. At that point, I ran out of the room, grabbed my phone, ran back in, and I was just, all I remember shouting was, Jesus, 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 no, 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 no. And I called my friend that just I said, you have to come back until I have to come back. And I can't remember who else I called. And I think I remember somebody saying, call 911.
Okay.
So I called 911 and they were asking, who do you want? I was just shouting, my sister needs you, my sister needs you. And they were like, calm down, who do you want? And I can't remember what I said, but next thing I knew, the ambulance was there. The paramedics arrived and the ambulance and then the police. And sis, at that point, I thought I was going to lose my mind.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
I really thought I was going to lose my mind. I was screaming, I was crying, I couldn't make sense of everything. I was begging God to please wake her up.
Wow.
I was begging God to please wake her up. I was begging that it was a joke. But she was solid. She had been gone hours.
Wow.
And then guilt flooded all over again.
Wow.
Guilt flooded all over again that Dele, why didn't you check her in the daytime? Why didn't you check on her? Maybe you would have found her before this happened. Maybe. Oh, that was hard. And eventually they took statements. The police had to take statements, and then I kept begging them to let me go back into the room. And I just held her and cried and begged her to please come back. And then they asked me to leave the room, and they took her out.
Wow, that's tough. That's a tough one. After just losing your husband 2 weeks before.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. Exactly 3 weeks later.
Was it 3 weeks?
3 weeks. They were 3 weeks apart. Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember everybody that was in the house that day saying, you can't sleep in the house. I was like, I don't want to go anywhere. I was exhausted. I was drained. And they now said, okay, at least go and spend the night at Pastor Virgin Jesus' place. So the girls and I went there, and Tayo, my friend Tayo Salami, spent the night with us there. And eventually, so at this time, I was trying to get hold of anyone that could contact my mom.
Yeah, I was going to say your mom.
Yeah, I was trying to find someone that could go and be with her and break it gently to her, because all this while I've been assuring everybody that she was getting better. Okay. She was getting better. And suddenly I now had to tell them she was gone. I was thinking, how do I explain this to the rest of the family? So when we got home, everybody I was calling, nobody was answering their phones. And I was scared that somebody would carelessly just break the news to my mom.
Or put it on Facebook,
or put it on Facebook or something, exactly. So that was what I was trying to avoid, So when finally they told me to go to sleep. They asked me to go to sleep. And since I slept, and when I woke up in the morning, I just laid on the bed. I cannot forget. I laid on the bed and tears were just streaming down my face. And Taya was like, are you okay? I was like, I don't know if I'm okay. I was like, what on earth is going on around me? What is this? Why are people just falling down dead? And I was like, and yet with all of this going on, I was able to sleep. Who does that? Who sleeps in the midst of, and I remember clearly she said, Dele, it's God's grace. Just rest in it. So, yeah, again, everything was a blur. after that. I remember you coming that morning, the next day, you and Doc came to see me at Pastor Badge's place. And I all kind of conversations were going on. But in my head, remember, I was planning the
Yeah,
funeral already.
yeah.
So all I was thinking of was I have a funeral to plan. But now I
How to
have two
plan,
funerals
yeah.
to plan,
And it
you
was it
know,
2 weeks after or something? I can't.
exactly three
three
weeks
weeks after.
apart, the funerals. Yeah. So we went back home because I said I wanted to be at home with the girls. So we went back home and I said to the girls, we can move if you want. And they were like, no, they want to stay in this house. So we stayed. We did the funeral and we did the service of songs. And I walked into that room, into the auditorium in Jesus' house, and I saw the crowd of people for Kunlo's service of songs. Since I don't know where all those people came from. I can honestly say 3/4 of people in that room, I did not know. I did not know. People flew in from America, people flew in from Nigeria, people came from all parts of the UK. So I looked back and I thought, God, all these times that Kunlo was always going out, and I'll be so upset with him and would fight and everything. He wasn't just going out, he was touching lives.
Yeah.
He was touching lives. And I had so many episodes of repenting before God. So many episodes of repenting because a bit of me judged him, because I was like, he wasn't living his Christian life, the mold that I thought it should
Yes,
be.
that's a good one. That is a good one because we
You
have
know,
an expectation.
you have an
Yeah.
expectation, but he was doing Christ his own
Yes,
way.
he was being light out there.
Exactly. Yeah. But I didn't
Yeah.
see it. I just thought he was always hanging out with
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
and just hanging out for fun. But he was actually touching lives.
And if I remember
And the people that
the
came.
funeral, or I can't remember if it was service or something, the testimonies were awesome. The testimonies were
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, exactly. So when I was hearing all those testimonies, I was reading people's cards, and people were coming up and saying things to me. I was like, oh my God, Lord, I'm so sorry. God, I'm so sorry. God, I'm so sorry. God, I'm so sorry. That's all I just kept saying. And I kept saying, Lord, thank you that you did not you did not allow me to hold him back from doing what he was called to do. And he was able to go out and do the things he needed to do. I also, and I just repented, and a bit of me wished that I'd be more supportive. A bit of me always wished that I'd walked that walk with him, and because there was a day a group of guys called me and they said they wanted to come and visit, and they were all his colleagues from his profession. He was a quantity surveyor, so they all came. There were like about 12 of them. They came to my house and we sat down, and one at a time they went around the room and they were telling me when they met him, the impact he had in their lives, what it meant to them, and grown men in their 50s were crying. And that just broke me completely. And I just thought, wow, this man was showing God in the way he knew how, and I did not see it. I did not see it, and that hurt. That really hurt because I felt that I could have been more supportive.
But the truth is that we're all like that. I'm sure you know that. It's not just you.
Yeah.
Human beings, there's only so much we can see. And we
Yeah.
always try to
So,
see things from our perspective. Oh, you're out there,
yeah.
you're not at home with the kids, or those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. So like they say, when you look back, you can connect the dots and make the picture, and you see the picture. And I started to thank God for his life. I started to celebrate him, and I started to be grateful that he refused to follow the mold and did life his own way.
Yeah.
And when I went to Qatar, there was a young lady that came to introduce herself to me during the service of songs. And because I'd been praying a lot for Kunlo, because along the way, there were things that happened and I felt he lost his way. He did lose his way. But a part of me I don't know why I resented him for it, because it hurts me, And I used to pray for him that, God, please don't let this guy, let his salvation not be, let him not lose his salvation. and I was really determined. I was really prayerful about that, And so when this girl came and introduced herself to me, and she said, "Oh," she was in tears, and she's like, "Oh, Uncle Kunlo, that's what she's called." She said, Uncle Kunlo was she was she was a serious believer. She had her faith intact. He said Kunlo had called her and said he wants to become accountable to her with his faith, and that when she's going to church or Bible study or anything, she must call him and drag him along.
Wow.
So when I heard that, and I heard some other things from people, I just thought, okay, God, thank you, my prayers were answered.
Yes.
He was finding his way back. And then there had been a prayer I'd been praying for years before that. I was like, God, bring Kuno back home. Bring Kuno back home. I want Kuno back home. And one day, after that girl said that, one day I was quiet and I just said, he's home. And I just burst into tears. I'm like, Lord, that's not the home I was calling you. I wanted him back here with us. But, that was comforting for me, knowing that because Kuno loved God. Kuno loved God. But then, along the way, I just felt that, he lost some part of his way and everything. But hearing that from that girl and knowing that, he was making himself accountable to someone that was helping him with his faith and getting him back to, and then there was a pastor, Dr. Nuzo had preached some sermon where he said, sometimes God might take someone out just because God knows the future. And so there might be something waiting ahead that might just destroy this whole picture. So before that thing happens, let me just take my child home. So things like that were words that I held on to that gave me comfort. That, okay, God, I'm going to trust you in that. Maybe there was something ahead that would have completely destroyed this thing and this man would have lost it. And that would have been more painful, So, it's difficult to deal with, but, it was comforting to know that he was home. He was home with his father.
Wow.
So yeah.
Let's just, how, Dele, how does one lose a husband, sister, within 3 weeks of each other? Again, funeral within 3 weeks of one after the other. How did you cope? How were you able to even get up again?
Honestly, this is not a cliche. It was just God. It was just God. My strength was in God. And when I look back on my life and look at all the difficult times I've had, those difficult times have drawn me closer to God.
Right. Okay.
Because I felt like I was in this sinking sand and it was going very quickly down. Right. And I had to hold on to something. And the only thing I could hold on to was God. That was the only thing. That was the only thing. I couldn't explain it, but that was the only thing, And I was reading a book.
Okay, go on.
Let me just quickly read a quote that I saw in this book. And I think that really explained, that for me it was as if this person could read my mind. And their quote was just, let me see if I can find it. He said, I'll find it. Okay. They said, because they were going through their own challenge, and they said, life has been interrupted, but we have to believe that there's a divine message in the disruption somehow. One that could save our lives and ultimately bring us closer to each other and to God. Wow. So reading that quote, I just felt...
Which book is that?
Yes. It's Divine Disruption by Evans, the Evans family,
yes.
Evans, Hurst and Sher.
Yes. It's a new one, isn't it?
It's a new book, yes.
I saw something about, yes. Apparently it's meant to be very good.
It is very good. So I read that quote, I just thought, oh my gosh, these people were reading my mind. Yes, life was disrupted for me, but it's drawn me closer to God. It's made me realize that when I say God is good, says God is good, I don't mean it. It's not head knowledge. It is what I'm living every day,
But there's no way, from when it happened, when you were fearful, to where you're now, there's no way you would have been able to say, I would have gone through. Because at that point, it was that fear that was done.
That fear was so tangible. I was scared. And then knowing that I was scared when Kunlo died, and then my sister now
Yeah.
died, the fear was doubled.
Mm. Mm.
In fact, multiplied,
Yeah.
not even doubled. It was multiplied so much so that I was scared to sleep.
Because you were wondering what could happen. Anything could happen
Happen.
next.
Yeah. And then I was scared to leave. I got my girls to sleep in my room with me.
Okay.
I was scared to leave them in their room by themselves. And even when they slept in my
Yeah.
room, I'd wake up at night and I'd intentionally move the duvet or something just so they could move and adjust
You know that
themselves.
they
I
were
was just
alive.
so I know they were alive,
Wow.
exactly. And when they moved to their rooms, I'd go into their room at night and I'll just stay there watching them. If I didn't see their nostrils moving, I'd move something on their bed so that they could turn. I'll do something just to make sure they turn. And I would do that regularly throughout the night.
Wow.
And it got to say I was thinking, God, I can't live like this. I can't live like this. I can't live like this. And I started to pray about that fear, you know, and that's what slowly left. But where I was working, the school I was working, they were gracious. I was out of work for a whole academic term. So that was like 3 months from January to March. I couldn't go back to
Of
work.
course, rightly so. That's
I couldn't face, yeah. And I told to the girls were, they were good. They wanted to go back to school and it was good for them to go back
yeah.
to school. But so I let their school know what was going on. So they kept an eye out for them and all that. But so I had that time to really get to terms with what I was going
Mm.
through. I had that time to talk to God,
Yeah.
to make sense of things. And in all of it, that's why I say God is good. The school I was in was fantastic. And it was a big school. I had class sizes of about 30, 31. When I work, wherever I work, I give over 100% if it's possible. So I didn't know how I was going to go back to that
Yeah.
job because of the commitment and the emotional. Emotionally, I didn't feel I could give
Okay.
anything back to those class sizes, and I prayed about it. And in the midst of grieving and everything, a job popped up which I wasn't looking for, and I got a job in a very small school, which was just what I needed. So it was almost like God saying, you need to
Yeah.
downsize,
Yeah. That's amazing.
and you
Wow.
know, it was just good.
You know,
So when I say God is good, God is good. He carried me. I can't tell you what happened one day from the next. Because there were days when I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't know what time the children left the house to go to
mm.
school. I didn't because I was under my duvet crying or sleeping.
And
You
it's
know.
good that you went through that grieving period because sometimes people just want to get on with life, you know. It's like,
Yeah, I
I guess
couldn't.
people are different. I mean, probably for some
Yes,
people, that's how they cope. You know, but each
yes,
person is
yes,
different, which is another thing we should never do. You never say, oh, this is how
yes.
Dele dealt with her, so this is how I'm going to deal
Mm,
with mine. But I
mm,
mean, it could be different
no,
for,
I couldn't.
but
Yeah, I couldn't even come back to Jesus' house.
yeah, I remember. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
couldn't. It was
yeah,
I liked the love I was
yeah,
getting, but it was too
yeah.
much. It got to a stage where it was too much. And I think I got to a stage where I was tired of crying.
Do you know, somebody else said the same thing. Someone who lost someone said that she couldn't come because every time somebody said to her, even hello, you know, she just felt, oh my God,
Yes,
I will cry. I will cry.
yeah, yeah. I was just tired of crying. So I wanted to go, sorry, I wanted to go somewhere where nobody knew me. So I could just sit down and just hear the word, just bask in the worship.
Wow.
I didn't, so it took a while to come back to church. Yeah. I just couldn't. I didn't, it was like everywhere familiar was too much to deal to cope with.
And it wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't because you know, sometimes you go into a space and you say, oh, I remember Kunlo here. It wasn't that.
Yeah, it
It
wasn't.
was just
Yeah, it
yeah,
wasn't that.
yeah,
Yeah, it was just, I appreciated the love, but it got to a stage where it felt choking.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. And even the girls complained one time. They were like, "Mommy, when are people going to stop coming to the house?" I said, "Just let's enjoy it. They mean well. So but it got to a stage where it felt choking, and it was just, I was just done crying. I was just done crying. I just didn't want to cry anymore.
Wow.
So, mm.
Wow. This has been amazing. And it's almost we've got done almost almost 2 hours,
Oh
two
wow!
hours and 20 minutes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh!
So let's fast
Yeah.
forward. And
Yeah.
it's been 4 years now. It's
Yes,
four
4 years.
years.
Yeah.
last week. So what space are you in right now?
Like I said, I'm in a very good place.
Okay.
I'm full of gratitude. You know, I said something on Sunday. I said, I'm so grateful to God that we don't look like what we've
Yeah.
gone through. And I mean every word. I mean every word. Because it's like it's when you read the Bible and it says he'll give you beauty for ashes,
Yeah.
and it's just God has been amazing. God has been I've just walked this journey with him. I've been blessed by friends, like I said, I've become sisters, family. I've been loved beyond measure. I I'm just in a very happy place. I'm in a very, very content. I feel very content. I know that God has got me. I know that my future is in his
Yes.
hands. You know,
Yeah.
um, the um, another time when we have another session, because there's just so much to tell. I always feel like I'm love. That is who I am,
Mm.
love. That is so I have so much love to
Yeah.
give. And when I look back on my childhood growing up, the enemy tried. They tried to steal that and to kill that, but God, it's just like God just pours more and more and more. So um I got to a place, I can't remember when. I got to a place where I said to God, and I settled with God that, Lord, I would definitely want to move on with life. I would definitely want to remarry. It's not because I didn't love my husband, but hey,
Yeah.
life has to be lived. And if it's your will, Lord, I would definitely,
Amen.
would like to remarry. And I just, I said that quietly in my heart. That was between me and God, and yeah, then one day, I can't remember when it was, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I finally got the courage to say it out loud that yes, I would. I'm comfortable saying it. And I tell the girls all the time, I'm going to remarry. And they're like, well, why? Why do you want to remarry? I said, because you guys are going to leave the house one day. It's going to
True.
be just me.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I don't want to be by myself all growing
Yeah.
up. I like having someone around. I'd love to be able to have someone to just share life with,
Yes. Yeah.
someone to share life with, someone to travel with, someone to do life with, to journey with. So yeah. So yeah, so I'm in a very happy place right now. I'm in a very content place. God has been amazingly kind to me and my girls. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Dele. And I know that your prayers has been answered by God. I know.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to have you back pretty soon to come and share more about the goodness
Yes.
of God.
Yes.
And, I'm just so in awe of God. Like you said, you don't look like what you've been through. And I pray that your testimony and everything that you said will encourage someone who's maybe
Mm.
going through, it might not be death, it could be anything,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
people are going through. So before we end, if you don't mind, Dele, and
Mm.
first of all, I want to say, on behalf of everybody that's listened to you, we really do appreciate you. I appreciate
Thank
you, know
you.
that anyway.
Yes.
I love you so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your vulnerability. It's
Thank you.
yeah, because you didn't have to say some of the things that you said. Because some people could have painted a rosy picture of marriage,
Mm.
and all.
Mm.
I know they said you never speak. It wasn't as if anything you said was bad, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But thank you so much
Yeah.
for being vulnerable. We really, really love you
Mm.
and thank you for that.
Thank you.
So before we go, can you just pray? Just what that comes to mind is the same grace and the love that
Mm.
you received. Can you
Mm.
pray for that grace for someone that
Yeah.
maybe
Okay.
someone on the line now or someone's going to watch later, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Heavenly Father, thank you. I can never thank you enough for who you are to me. for all you've done. Father, I bless your holy name. Father, I thank you for this session that we just had. Father, I pray that it wasn't just a storytelling, but I pray that it was uplifting for someone.
Yes, Lord.
I pray that the journey I have been through and the journey I've walked will help someone on this call today, wherever they might be, whatever loss or challenges they might be going through,
Yes.
or someone that might listen to this later. But Father, the way you've held me, the way you've carried me, the Father, they will feel your presence just as much, Lord God Almighty.
Amen.
That the grace you've placed upon me to even sit here today and talk with a smile on my face, and Father, you grant them that grace as well.
Amen.
The strength that it is you, it is your strength, Lord. People say, Dele, you are strong. Father, I know that it is not me. That strength that you've placed in me, that you keep giving me daily, Father, I pray that you will strengthen them as well on their journey.
Yes,
and that, Father, in it all, they will be able to say that you are a good, good God, because you are. And that whatever we're going through, let their faith be strengthened, knowing that you know the end, and we can just rest, knowing that that ship is not going to capsize because you are in it,
yes.
and you're carrying us along. Thank you, Heavenly Father, because everything you do is good. Everything
He's
you
a
do
good
is
God.
good. And everything you give to us, you do not add sorrow to it. And when it might look like it's sorrowful, you bring the rays of sunshine at the end of the day. And I'm just so grateful for that. I am a living testimony of your goodness, your faithfulness, your kindness, your love. And I just pray that everyone today on this call or that would listen to this will one day experience it as well.
Amen. Amen.
And just bask in your glory.
Amen.
Thank you, Father, because you are just too kind, and we love you. I love you with all of my heart. Thank you, Lord, in Jesus' name.
Amen.
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 Thank you, Dele. And my prayer for you is that God will continue to strengthen you. God will continue to pour out his love. You think you're loved. You haven't seen anything, anything yet. And his grace every day will be multiplied. And
Amen.
yes,
Amen.
he's
Thank
going to do
you.
much more, much more. In fact, what I keep hearing is overflow. There's going to be an overflow of his love, his grace, everything. It's going to overflow.
Amen.
And you're going to,
Amen.
don't forget, you're coming back first on Hangout Cafe to come and share. Yeah?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Thank you, everyone. Sorry, I didn't even get a chance to read the comments, but thank you so much,
Thank you
everybody.
so much, folks. And next week, we're going to have an amazing session. We're going to help you guys prepare for Christmas. So next week, please come to join us. It's Christmas at the Hangout Cafe. So it's just that we can't see all of you. I was going to say, come in your Christmas outfits. But next week is going to be special. We have so many guests. Everything that you need to prepare for Christmas, you're going to have on Hangout Cafe next week. So love you all. Thank you so much for staying. I know it's been almost